currently on a mission to reread all of the Little Miss books because these taught me to read. I grew up absolutely adoring these. I had the full set up until I think maybe Little Miss Somersault. I think the rest of them are quite new. Um, but interestingly, when I reread this today for the first time in what, 20 something years, it didn't actually come flooding back to me. And that's weird because there are some Mr. Men books and Little Miss books that I remember so vividly. But with Miss Bossy, Little Miss Bossy, that wasn't the case. But being it's the first book in the series, I obviously did have it. I don't know why I don't remember it because it's actually pretty great. Although I do have one point of criticism regarding the absence of a certain word. And I will explain what I mean by that when we get to it. I won't read it out loud, the book is still in copyright, but we'll have a quick look through it. Certainly there are some really good points about this. So this was published originally in 1981. This came 10 years after the first Mr. Man book, after Mr. Tickle. And I think this particular book was published in 2020, yes. And this is all about Little Miss Bossy. And what I love about this is that obviously, because we have a roster of Mr. Men characters at this point, they can be utilised in other stories. And we see Little Miss Bossy meeting Mr. Nosy, Mr. Noisy, Mr. Happy, Mr. Lazy at one point, who I love. I love the design of Mr. Lazy. And she's being, well, bossy and demanding. And this wizard character, who is called Wilfred, I don't remember him to be perfectly honest, although the worm I do remember. He observes what's going on and is coming to the conclusion that he needs to teach Little Miss Bossy a lesson. And what he does is he puts a spell on her, and it's pretty clever actually. He gives her bossy boots. And I don't know if this is the case outside of the UK, but calling somebody bossy boots is a particular expression of somebody's being bossy, especially the children saying your Little Miss Bossy Boots. I don't know if this comes from this. I assume that the phrase came before this, but maybe not, because it predates me either way. But she's got these bossy boots on, and they keep making her walk around and march every time she is bossy. And she has to learn that the only way to stop these boots from controlling her is to stop being bossy. I think that's a pretty great idea. It's something that you can lend to children if you're trying to teach children to not be bossy, calling them bossy boots, threatening them with their own pair of bossy boots, I guess. And that's all well, and it's wonderful. And I love seeing all of these Mr. Men characters coming together. It's fantastic. The only point of criticism, and it really surprised me because Mr. Men books, as I said, as I think I said, they taught me to read. They're a great way to learn vocabulary in bite-sized chunks. And they do sometimes have fun and creativity with certain words. But what surprised me is that I can't find it now. Here we go. A wizardy word that he'd learned from page 304. This wizard says this word to make these bossy boots appear. But we never learn what that word is. And it really surprised me that they never used that creativity and they didn't come up with a word that was fun sounding and engaging that children could repeat, something that would be adding a layer of interactivity to it. It just really surprised me that they kind of never bothered to come up with that word, and I was quite surprised. But if that's my only point of criticism about Little Miss Bossy, then I think it's doing pretty well for itself. As I said, I had no recollection of this. I couldn't remember it at all. So reading it now is kind of like I'm reading it for the first time, and I thought it was delightful. I thought it was very effective. It was a very sweet story. Little Miss Bossy is never going to be my favourite character, but I certainly enjoyed reading it.